Hey guys, welcome to another East Coast Rams podcast. I am your co-host here, Ashton, with my awesome co-host, Zach. And it is the summer and it is hot. It is getting very hot here in Virginia. How you doing, Zach? Are you staying cool over there in Indiana? Heard you guys
Yeah, I
get a
mean
lot of
it's
storms.
no, not that many storms, but it's been hot. I mean, we've been stuck in this 90s uh
Mhm.
air for a while now. It's starting to dip a little bit, but yeah, no, summer's great. Just we've been off for 3 or 4 weeks, and so now we're trying to get back into the groove of things. Talk all things Rams. So I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, even fan podcaster guys, we need our mini camp. We need to get back in the groove of things, get a little warmed up, get back in season shape, so we can give you guys the great fan made content that we normally do. And yeah, let's kind of jump into it, Zach. And there's going to be a little bit more free flowing, guys, than we normally do because we're just going off of news and stuff like that. And we were talking pre pod a little about Kyron, and I'll just go from there, and then we'll talk about the Ramsey news and some Goff comments and stuff like that. But Zach, do you want to go ahead and break down the kind of updated metrics that
Yeah,
came
I mean,
out?
I think we're all talking about the Ramsey, or not the Ramsey news. We'll get to that, but we're all talking about Kyron Williams and Kyron Williams' contract
Yeah.
extension. As we've kind of seen throughout the last several weeks, there hasn't been a whole lot of movement. We keep hearing that there's been good dialogue. Sean McVay has said this multiple times, including when they went to Maui, that the dialogue is good. It is getting better. They are having those back and forth conversations. He has not made a direction one way or another if they plan on doing an extension this year that the conversations are just having. And so this has divided fans. I mean, almost as much as should Ramsey, Jalen Ramsey come back or not. Again, talk about that later, but it's got fans divisive. And a new metric came out today talking about the ATEX, or what's known as the tackle avoidance and explosiveness. And it did not look pretty for Kyron Williams. And I think this is something that we've known. We've known that he isn't the most explosive runner in the world. And this study, this metric now kind of puts that out for everybody. This is a good tool for the LA Rams because they can say, hey, this is the problem, and we need to try to figure out where can we find value in keeping you, because there is value in keeping Kyron Williams, but we can't give you such a lucrative deal that's going to be beneficial when we need a little bit more out of you. And so he was last in this ATEX, which is, again, runs that went for 15 yards plus. It measures the running back's missed tackle forced rate as well as the number of runs that went for 15 plus yards. I believe he had 6 out of his 200 plus carries. So not great. Not great.
Yeah, I mean, we have kind of known this since he's become the starter. He struggles to break the first contact tackle, and there's always a possibility he continues to grow. He gets a little bit more bulkier.
He's
It is
young.
only, yeah, he's young. It's only his 4th year now. Whew, getting up there, 4th year in the league. But I think we have talked about this previously, Zach. I think the reason he got the start so early in his career and took over like from Akers and stuff like that was because he was similar. I would say he's similar with running wise to Akers, but his blocking is a lot better than Akers. And I think that's why he kind of took over. And the question is, can we get someone who, let's say, doesn't just do everything at a really good level like Kyron, but does some of the things at elite level? And I think that's where Kyron, like, kind of, he's that weird type running back because he's a really good player, but he's not elite, and he has some holes in his
I,
game, and he
I
does
would say
things he.
no. You finish. You finish your thought.
I was just gonna say he does the things he needs to be important to this offense, and still be like a, I would say, key contributor. But if you're talking about someone worth paying a bag to, like, we can argue about the specific line, and that's where, like, I mean, you have a slight difference, but we both agree, like, he's worth staying around, but you don't need to break the bank for a player who isn't elite, who could still fall off pretty easily, especially
Yeah,
given the position.
I mean, the Rams, they need that dual threat, and we've seen teams starting to utilize that dual threat. The Lions are kind of one of the probably the most profound in my mind of having that dual set double threat of a running back, and the Rams need that. Kyren Williams he's a really good running back. What I say, he's probably in the lower of the elites, and it is because of that less explosiveness. But if you need 5, 6, 3, yards to get that first down, Kyren Williams is your guy. He hardly ever flops at the opportunity to get the yards to move the chains. And then you look at his red zone, and he was our touchdown king for the first half. He was the only reason why we were scoring touchdowns in the first half of the season in 2024. Without Kyren Williams, the Rams may not have had that good playoff push. And so again, like, I think that there's this balance that we need to find where it's no longer that you're going to have it's very rare that you're going to have a single back. I mean, obviously you have the Derrick Henrys and you're going to have the Saquon Barkleys and you're going to have, those players who are true elites in the game, but you can't take away from Kyren Williams and the product that he has put on the table. Yes, there's one or two metrics that don't look great for him, but when it comes to blocking, we haven't found someone who in a running back who is as good of a blocker as Kyren Williams. We always go back to him. We have tried to find different solutions and bring in somebody else to kind of help give some relief to Kyren Williams, and that we just keep going back to him because he is that person. He can get you the yards that you need. You only need 10 yards to move the chain. Yes, it would be great to go those 15 plus yards, but as long as you're continuing to move the chain and you're able to put that rock into the end zone, that is the thing that means more to me than how many times did he go over 15 yards.
I mean, I will remind people, I still think there's a slight chance that Corm could take over for this backfield. And I only say that because, number one, McVay very rarely trust rookies in their first season. That's just a fact. Very few rookies have gone a decent workload to a huge workload in their first season. Puka's the exception, not the rule. He rarely trusts rookies with a heightened workload. And then you add on to that the struggles Kyren started to have. If Kyren plays this to where, like, he has to get a high, like, salary amount and the Rams aren't going to match that, I could see the front office wanting us to kind of move off of him workload wise, especially if Corum is showing growth. I think that's more dependent on how much growth Corum shows and what he's showing kind of in the practice field. But I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, Hunter could also pop. I don't foresee that happening, but you never know. Like, we didn't see Puka happening, right? Like, me and you thought he would be a pretty good gadget guy. We're pretty excited for him. Like the concept and the idea, but we'll see. And not to mention, like, Kyren has struggled a little bit with injuries. We'll see. And I think the preseason will be big tell if Corum plays or not. And it's kind of crazy to say that.
I mean that's how it's always been. I mean, that's why Kyren Williams continues to get the ball. And again, I think the Rams want to try to utilize other players, but when they're not as successful at either blocking for Stafford or, getting the necessary yardage to move the chains, that's when they just keep going back to what they're comfortable with, and that is Kyren Williams, and that's not a bad thing. But I do agree that the Rams want somebody explosive, but you have someone who is steadily consistent and able to move the ball forward, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I think the big point of contention here that people have to understand, especially with the Rams front office, is like, do you have the cap in the next 3 or 4 years, given the fact that we have to pay all these guys on the D-line in next year or two? And like right now, we've been just basically paying our running backs pennies. Like, do you have the extra $4 to $5, $6 million in your salary cap to risk losing a Fisk, a Verse, a Byron Young? Like, if they could keep all four in the next year or two, can you pay Kyren at the same time as keeping Byron Young? Like, that's going to be
Byron
what
Young
they
would
kind of finagle.
Yeah, I mean, Byron Young is probably going to be out of all the names you said, obviously, I think he's going to be the star of where you're looking at who you're going to leave out in this case. But I don't disagree. I think we're kind of on the same page. If we can get him for under 10, I think that is something to look at. Anything more than 10, I think you're just going to have a holdout year, or not a holdout year, but play through the year and if he gets better, then you're going to have to pay him more. Obviously, if he becomes explosive, he becomes that consistent player that you have. Obviously, the more time you let on, the price value could go drastically up if you want to keep him moving forward.
I think the risk.
It's always a risk. You're gonna risk yourself
to a player for 3 to 4 years just because he might get explosive when I think we kind of know the player.
That's the Rams' MO. The Rams' MO is to pay people and then don't keep them after 2 years. I mean, you look at Jared Goff, you look at Todd Gurley, I can give you a laundry list of players that they consistently extend and then they cut almost immediately. And I know that they're
learning.
But you also don't want to risk losing out on potential talent. And I think that's what the Rams also don't want to do. They don't want to lose out on someone who is very consistent and I still believe is a true top 10, top 8 running back in this league. And I don't think you should take that for granted.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, if he does play, like, I want him to be great. Like, I think this remains to be said, Zach. Like, I want every player on this roster to be elite. Like, I'd love nothing more for all these players just be studs, win a Super Bowl, and, like, fantastic. Like, that's great. But I'm just giving you guys, like, my honest opinion and what I think for what that is worth.
Yeah.
Talking Ramsey now?
Yeah, let's talk about Ramsey. But before we talk about Ramsey, you know what everybody should do? They should go like and subscribe our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EastCoastRams. It would be great. We want to get to over 500 subscribers, and you could be one of those people to knock us over the edge. So all you have to do to go to youtube.com/@EastCoastRams, hit that subscribe button. There's that little notification bell. Go ahead, just smash it. Smash it just a little bit so you can always get notified when we post either one of our live episodes, our pre-recorded episodes, or even our shorts. So please make sure you go to youtube.com/@EastCoastRams and subscribe. All right. Jalen Ramsey. We have also been talking about this rumor going around since basically the end of the postseason when the Dolphins pretty much were like, yeah, we're looking to trade. We're looking to make some trades. Everybody in the Ram face kind of shifted our eyes towards Ramsey. And today is the day. There's been rumors. He's been at UCLA's training camp, doing some workouts, stuff like that. But, today is the day that we find out where Jalen Ramsey is going. And he's going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's it's a weird day. Today's a weird day. I don't know what's going on over there in the Pittsburgh. They got some interesting players on the team, but I don't know if the random amount of people that you can put on a team is going to make you a Super Bowl contender. It's going to make that division super interesting. I think that this does not bode well necessarily for if you're a Bengals fan. I don't think it bodes well. Maybe Ravens, I don't think so. Browns, they're kind of extinct of themselves. So, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But this is a Rams podcast, so we'll talk about the Rams' point of view of this. But we will not be reuniting with our Super Bowl champion, Jalen Ramsey. How are you feeling about this move?
I mean, first off, the Steelers traded Minkah Fitzpatrick for Ramsey, which is just, in my opinion, personally nuts. I think Minkah is a top 5 safety in the NFL right now. And Ramsey is good, but I think we've talked about this ad nauseum. He's not a top 5 corner anymore. And I just feel like some people do not understand that. And I don't understand trading a 28-year-old elite safety for, you could say, really good to borderline elite cornerback at 32. It just...
Yeah, I mean, there's a 4-year difference too. I mean, 28-year-old versus a 32-year-old.
Yeah, and besides the age, it's just the level of play. And then I think the Dolphins upgraded. I mean, they traded away Jonnu Smith also because Arthur Smith can't get away from him. But that's besides the point. It's kind of a nuts trade from the Steelers' point of view. And I feel like they're just doing stuff to make Aaron Rodgers feel good about himself. I don't know. I think sometimes teams will do stuff out of desperation or like out of boredom almost, it feels like. From the Rams' point of view, I think we were you were pretty clear about we didn't think we would get him between the contract being too much. They had to give him a raise. So he's making more money now, number 1 cornerback money, and I don't think he's going to play number 1 corner for the Steelers, so that kind of makes sense for them, but they did lose a top-tier safety in the process. And then, the assets, they traded away a player who's arguably worth a second-round pick, in my opinion, around there. You could say borderline late first. So what do you make of it, Zach? Do you think the Rams didn't have a chance, right?
No, I mean they were, coming from Ian Rappaport today, it was between the Rams and the Steelers. They were the main teams involved in this trade.
Well, they were interested, right?
But they clearly outlined the Rams and the Steelers. And I think the Rams were very interested in this, but it came down to what the details were. The Rams already traded away Jalen Ramsey once. They weren't going to, I don't think, going to lose out on have a worse deal than what they gave him away for. I mean, we got a third and Hunter Long. So, I don't think they were looking at, we're not going to spend less than this. And I think they were also trying to get the Dolphins to pay more of his salary. Because I think right now the Steelers are paying most of the salary. There's still a little bit that the Dolphins are going to do, but for the most part, it's going to be that. But, it's just interesting of what the Steelers have done. I mean, they pick up Jalen Ramsey, now DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, and so it's going to be a weird team with all of these kind of almost orphans coming together and seeing what they can do.
Well, they drafted a running back in the second round too. So yeah. It is very questionable. They needed a second wide receiver, so they go get one and then trade away George Pickens to the Cowboys.
It sounded like he wanted to stay and he wanted to be on the West Coast, but I don't think any other team other than probably the Rams really wanted to try to take him on. Again, maybe it's because of the age, maybe it's the money. There's a lot to figure out. I mean, when you look at it, the 49ers have kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit over the years, and they're having to pay Purdy, and they have Christian McCaffrey and Kittle and all these other players. They don't really have time to pay a star cornerback. Yeah, and so it's just one of those things that I think the Rams it's probably going to be a blessing for the Rams, because I think the Rams they're one player away to make this defense be the number one. I don't know if Ramsey necessarily was going to be that one piece that they needed. I would have taken him because I think he does bring value, but not at what the Steelers paid for him.
Well, I mean, we've mentioned this before. Like, our team build is not at the point where we need aging veterans that are expensive on the defense. It's just not how our defense is built, and it's not how our team build is right now. And then you mix in the fact, like, I think the Rams were basically like poking Dolphins, being like, hey, we're interested. We'll give you something for them, but we're only going to take them at a discount. And the Rams were hoping no one else would be, let's say, overly interested in getting him. And the Steelers were clearly aggressive. And the Rams, I guarantee you, they probably asked for someone like Puka or something crazy like that. And the Rams were like, no, we're not trading you any like key young players for Ramsey.
Right. And like I said, I think the Rams have pretty good depth right now. I mean, as far as, you're looking in the defensive back safety realm again. I mean, you have Curl Kitchens. You have McLeod. Well, that's what I meant. Curl and Kitchens. Sorry, I forgot to say the word and. Curl and Kitchens. And then you got McLeod, which would be a good depth piece in that kind of that safety realm.
McCullough.
McCullough. Sorry. Witherspoon. You have Kobe Durant.
D-Will. Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah. So you got these pieces, which everyone kind of, I think, looks over them a little bit. But this was the defense this was the defensive backs we had to make this big push. And you cannot tell me that they were the reason why we lost to the Eagles.
I mean, again, like, our team build is such where, like, I really do feel like, Zach, next year, quarterbacks will have probably, like, we'll be in top 5 for least amount of time to throw for a quarterback. When you're talking about from snap to throw, they're going to have the least amount of time, and they're going to have to get it out their hands quick. And that gives our DBs a slight advantage. It means they don't have to keep up most plays as close. It depends if we do more zone, because we did a lot of zone, but it was man matching zone. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what tactic they take with this DB core. But we also have the potential, because we've taken kind of low risk gambles, basically, with, Emmanuel Forbes. He's looked like he's kind of bulked up, and then he's playing great in camp, and we'll kind of see. I think it would be very telling if he doesn't play in the preseason, right? So that's someone I would kind of look out for preseason wise, see if he's really grown enough to get a starting job. Because I do think Emmanuel Forbes has a huge amount of talent, and it just, can they unlock that? And, we kind of saw it when we got Trey White. Like, this team is throwing a lot of darts. And I wouldn't be shocked if they can hit on the other undrafted agent like they did with Darius Williams, still let him start. So
yeah, and again, like, your secondary, yes, needs to be well, and I think we have a really good secondary, but the pressure from this defense is going to be at the defensive front.
Yeah,
and if you can just consistently put pressure on the quarterback and use that defensive line to push on the opposing team's offensive line, you are going to have a way you're going to have to utilize your secondary way less if you can just continue to bring that pressure. You keep bringing pressure onto the quarterback, he's going to make off throws, which allows your secondary to make big plays, whether that's snapping interceptions, whether that's also being able to help. There's a lot of times where we like to do a sneak from our corners and, be able to add even more pressure to that quarterback spot. So I think the whole defensive plan is we're going to work our defensive front to be so elite that then our secondary can be a little bit more relaxed, be able to cover their zones a little bit better and not always have to, run the 100-mile dash down the field. We're working together to make this defense as best it can be without having to go spend all the money on, quote unquote stars of the defensive back.
Yeah, not to mention, let's also pay attention to the fact that they addressed their biggest Achilles heel, which I would argue was more of a liability in games, was over the middle with linebackers. Just really atrocious linebacker play. And I feel like overall, Zach, tell me if you disagree, I feel like our linebacker core depth-wise is the best it's ever been in McVay's tenure. Like overall, like from top to bottom, I really do think this linebacker core will make a huge impact relative to the fact that they were such a liability. I don't think they'll be a top 15 unit, but if they're top 20, that's better than being the 32nd or 31st, which they have been consistently for the most part in the last 5 years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do think that I want to kind of see our inside linebacker room develop a little bit better. I still think that the inside linebacker, which we've always kind of talked about, I do think that is one of the areas where I still think we really need, Omar Speights. Spates. Jeez Louise, I am just terrible with pronunciation today. That's what happens when you take 3 weeks off. Spates, I've seen so much from him this past season, and I think he's going to be a really good linebacker for us. I want to see that growth go to more players and be able to control that zone, because again, we need those linebackers to help contain the run. Something big that we continually need to work on is containing the run. We cannot deal with having more plays where our weakest spot on the defense has always been the run game. And so we need to really amp that up this year and really make that a priority to shut that down.
Well, recently, since Aaron Donald left, it's been the run game. But also tight ends. Like, we have been just completely gashed by tight ends in like over the middle and stuff like that. You're talking about triple digits most games for yards.
And one player, one tackle. Let's not have like the whole team pile up on the tight end. Like, it was getting ridiculous.
Watching our linebackers try to tackle Saquon is
that is our thing. Like, we put so much pressure that we have a really good pressure up front, but then after that is where we do falter a little bit. And if the quarterback is able to make the throw, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So hopefully we can just continue to that overall build, work on the middle play, let the pressure naturally form. And then let the defensive backs do their job.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Jared Goff next? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and talk about this story? I won't say too much about it because he hasn't been a Ram for 5 years. So,
So Goff on the quarterback by Netflix just got quoted, and I don't think the actual episode has released, so it's more of a clip. It said it kind of brought me from this moment of like picking up the pieces to feeling like rejuvenated with this energy of like, oh, this is what it feels like to be truly wanted and have these guys behind you. And I haven't felt that in quite some time. So there's a lot to kind of unpack down there, but let's first set the stage with the fact that I think Goff is a good quarterback. I've always thought Goff was a good quarterback. And I felt like he didn't match the timeline of the team at that point in time when he got traded. And that proved to be right because we won a Super Bowl and he took longer to kind of grow into being a really good borderline elite talent. Right? I feel like both sides there were kind of right. Just in the stage.
Yeah, so here's my 2 cents. Again, you know me, I'm a Goff supporter. Will always be a Goff supporter. I'll ring that tune. This story isn't new. We knew about this. We knew that he, basically there was a bad breakup between him and McVay. The Lions kept him. They extended him. Everyone loves him up in Detroit, and that's true. But the pathway for the Rams, it's taken me a while to kind of really realize this, but in essence, it had to happen. Sean McVay he needed he needed a partner. He didn't need someone to have to tell him exactly what to do. And during that time, I do believe that Goff was a great leader. He was a great quarterback. But McVay was running the show, and he had to tell Goff exactly what to do as far as the plays go. He needed someone who was a partner, and that's what he got with Matthew Stafford. He got a partner, not a pupil. And so I think that's really where it kind of came apart at. As far as Goff's quote, I mean, of course, he's going to feel that way. He's going to feel cast aside, and he's going to say those things. He's been saying those things. I don't think this is anything new over the last 2 or 3 years now, where really that story's come out, and Sean McVay's admitted that he wished he would have handled the issue better. But I want to remember Goff and his good times. I don't really want to talk about the breakup stuff anymore.
Yeah,
we know about it. I'm ready to move on.
I mean, I think the Lions are gonna find out over time that, and I do think he's better than he was in 2018 now.
Sure.
But he has limitations, and he has to have an elite team around him. And his problem is when things aren't going good, he rarely climbs out of that hole. When things are going chaotic and falling apart, like if we had Goff, if we had Goff in that Tampa Bay game, Zach, do you really think he makes that last drive?
No. I don't.
He does
think so as well. But what I would disagree with your point was I have seen it time and time again where the Lions have been up against the wall and Goff has helped move them forward. They have been down, they move forward. Their defense, loses half their team. The offense, picks them up. And I do think Goff has become a better leader over time and a better leader for that team. And I can see all the messaging that he puts out there. It just wasn't right for the Rams anymore. And it wasn't right for Sean McVay. And that's just what's going to happen. I mean, you're going to find these teams who this quarterback could be really good or this player can be really good, but it doesn't fit the team. It doesn't fit the culture. It doesn't fit the coach. And we've seen this time and time again where players either leave. Well, I don't really see not many players leave and become successful after they were a Ram, but a lot of players come from broken teams. They come to the Rams and they feel rejuvenated. I mean, you listen to Davante Adams. We haven't even talked about really any of the current players other than Kyren Williams, but like you listen to Davante Adams and he just tells you how it is. Like this team just has this energy about them and this camaraderie and this brotherhood that just rejuvenates you when you get here. And we heard about this. We heard this from Baker. We hear about this from, oh my gosh, why have all the names? Who's our backup quarterback? Pretty
Brett Rippon?
No, not Brett
Jimmy
Rippon.
G.
You talking about what? Dresser Wynn? Isn't he also back?
No, he's in the UFL.
No, I think he's coming back to the Rams. I think he got signed as a whatever.
Preseason.
But yeah, like we hear about these players and some of them want to stay. They don't want a backup job somewhere else or something like that. But like, they like being with the Rams if they can stay because of this community and this rejuvenist. But there are going to be players who aren't going to be happy with the way the Rams want to do things because they're very cut and dry. They will cut you if you are not producing. But they do have a good culture. They do have a good camaraderie. They have a good coaching tree. So,
I mean, it was a learning point for the coaching staff, and hopefully they have continued to grow in that aspect. But when it comes down to it, to me, I just think Stafford's elite arm ability, his elite processing, and his just capability in critical moments to be clutch, and for the most part, have ice in his veins. I feel like he has that if factor that Goff just doesn't have. And that's why you've seen Goff routinely in the playoffs when the full team is not going off on all cylinders, he struggles. And I just think you see that with every playoff run Goff has been in with the Rams and with the Lions. I like Goff. I think he has capability of winning the Super Bowl, but I feel like he's one of those players. Everything has to go right. Stafford, he is the guy who wills stuff into being and like stuff going right for the team when it hasn't been. That Eagles game almost fell apart like the previous Eagles game where everything just kind of got off the rails and just went off. Our defense helped, but our offense struggled most of the year, and you could see he was grasping at anything he could to be able to win that game. And be honest, I think he gets the game-winning touchdown if he doesn't get sacked instantly, by Jalen Carter.
I will probably agree with you on that. I do think that, I do think that if given the opportunity, if they continue to go down, Jared Goff he would not be able to pick himself back up. I think that, there is a point to some players where if they're just not producing, they will continue to not produce. Stafford,
he's very emotional. When
he is, and if he's down by one or two scores, I think he has a chance to get back at it.
Yeah.
But if he's down one or two scores and then throws a pick or something, you see that trajectory.
We see
a sharp draw.
And then he like takes too many steps on drop back, gets touched slightly and fumbles it because he's not fully paying attention. He's just one of those guys when the storm's going around, he just lets it kind of take over his emotion. Where Stafford, he kind of holds it and he calms everyone else down, where like you can kind of see Goff get taken by the storm, and I feel like the rest of the team has to either settle him down or they start to freak out too. And quarterback's supposed to be that guy that kind of settles everyone down, and no matter how you're playing, being like, this is what we're gonna do. And like you always see Stafford looks angry when he's down, and he doesn't look angry like he's about to collapse. He looks angry because he's like, oh, I'm going to come back 3 scores, and they're going to regret letting me come back.
I think Goff is getting better at it, but time will tell whether he does get back to the Super Bowl again. He is going to face some tough competition every year. The Vikings don't look to be backing down. Obviously the Rams are in that conference, so they're going to have to probably face each other at some point to see who can to get over that hump. But it is what it is. But Goff is in the past. I enjoyed his time when he was a Ram. He brought this franchise back from nothing. That a big point of the Rams' success now is the future is the past that he built to get us to that point. So I appreciate everything that Jared Goff has done. But let's kind of finalize a little bit up with some of the more recent Rams stuff that we have. Obviously, it is the Rams going to Maui for their Maui camp. Very cool opportunity that they got to do. I don't think anyone would have grunged about going to Hawaii for a few days with your family and your team to go play in Hawaii.
Zach, we missed an opportunity for a podcast, let's say,
on
scouting opportunity. scouting opportunity for the podcast.
That's right. Yeah, that would
Next
have been
year. Next year.
That anybody we will take sponsors. So if you would like to sponsor us, please contact us at anyways. So yeah, I mean, it looked like they had a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, I don't think they got a whole lot of work done per se. I mean, obviously they went out there, they did their drills, they did their things in front of the fans, and they got some practice in. But I don't think this would have been the same traditional mini camp that they would have had if it was here on site. But it was a good community building. Obviously, they're trying to grow the brand, and obviously having Puka Nakua with the Polynesian descent really kind of helps bring that community closer to him and to the Rams team as a whole. So it was a very unique opportunity, and super excited for what they got. Didn't get a whole lot other than that out of it. Some bits and pieces here from some of the players, but for the most part, it seemed like everyone had a good time.
Yeah, they got to sell that merch. That is some nice looking merch. I would have bought a few things of that, and then also not to mention like Hawaii also went through wildfires, so I did like that through line there that they wanted to support that community, kind of like go in and be hold hands and kind of give back.
And they were out there. They were out there helping building some houses too. So they were out there with Habitat for Humanity to help rebuild some of those houses that were destroyed.
I think they redid a few of the locker rooms and equipment sets of some of the local high schools too.
You are
so
correct.
That's just doing a lot of community building, and these communities need it after these disasters because it can be like life shattering. So I feel like some people don't understand that if they never been through something like that. I've seen a few hurricanes go through living in the Southeast, and it's not pretty, and people definitely need help every so often.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I think it was a very successful outing that they had. Again, wish we could have joined them, but there's always next time, right? It's always.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, the only other news that the Rams are going to have to kind of refigure out their offensive line again. Right now, Alaire Jackson is dealing with some blood clots issues again. They're not saying that he's going to be out for 2025. There's still belief that he can recover and be able to participate in that. But I definitely think that that would be a real big issue to lose.
Sign DJ Humphries.
And I think one of the reasons why they signed him was because of that.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Which I think it's going to be a great depth piece, whether he's the starter or whether Jackson able to play. I think that provides a really good opportunity.
He's a good tackle. I would say like when he was healthy, he was playing better than Jackson. But the problem is like Jackson now. These guys can't help it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But both struggle to stay healthy, and just hoping like they can string together starts, and it's not like one of these things where you have them switching in and out every other week. Now I know the blood.
Yeah, good.
I was just going to say the blood clot thing. It's one of those where once you're good to go, you're good to go, but you're not good to go until you get told by doctors. So it just can suck, Zach. I feel like this has been something where this O-line, we had a few great years, and it just it feels like we can never stay ahead of it. And it's always like a rotation. And by the time we figure it out, we lose a few games. We drop 2 or 3 games we shouldn't have because of that.
Yeah.
Just sucks.
Sure. Yep. So we're praying for him. Hopefully he gets back healthy. I mean, obviously we want him to be successful for his Rams career, but we also, players first, their health first. So we want him to.
He earned that contract, Zach. He really did. And we were always like pleasantly surprised when he played. And I think me and you were very happy the way he played. And we both thought he perfectly earned the contract he got.
Yeah, I mean he's a great guy. I mean, I got to meet him when we were in LA, or not LA, when during the Lions wild card game a couple years back. Super nice guy, very friendly, wanted to, meet with the fans and stuff like that. So my positive thoughts his way, because he's a really good guy.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's just bad luck and nothing you can do about it.
Yep. So, all right. But do you have anything else? Because I think we kind of talked about a lot.
The only other thing I can kind of say is there's like some rumors online that says like the Rams might be interested in trading the Dolphins a tight end just because they need one now.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we might be able to
Higbee
trade. I would probably lean more toward Colby Parkinson. Probably is the name that I
are
would
they
think that
going
the
to
Rams
want
would.
Colby?
I mean, if their other options fall through, they're probably will take anybody that anybody will give. But
I mean, Higbee's on the last year of his contract too, right? I'm pretty sure. Or maybe
potentially,
as two.
yeah. I mean, he got a contract extension right before he got injured, so he might still have 2 more years left.
Yeah. I don't remember if that last year is a void year or not. But either way, like, if we traded Higbee away, I think that would just tell.
I mean, obviously, I think Ferguson obviously is the guy. I don't
Yeah.
disagree that, but I think if you want someone to learn to play the role, I think you keep Higbee over Parkinson.
Yeah. Who knows if they're even interested in either of those guys? They could not be, right? Like, I think it'd be worthwhile, like, if they're kicking the tires, see what they want to give us for him, and if you get a fourth or a fifth, I mean, and you like Ferg, then why not, right? So
right. And I would definitely tell you if they got rid of Higbee, I think Ferg would be TE1 almost week 1. So
Ferg to the moon if Higbee. I still think he ends up the starter by the end of the year. Personally.
Oh, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with that, but I definitely think that the likelihood if Higbee isn't with the Rams or is not a week 1 contender, that we would see a lot of Ferguson right off the bat. But if Higbee's playable, you're going to see a heavier percentage Higbee, and then as the season progresses, I think the weights will shift.
So yeah, I could see them do more 12 personnel this year because of that. A lot more, especially in the red zone. I'm interested to see how McVay kind of schemes up red zone plays this year. Very interesting.
I mean, it'll be definitely interesting now with Puka and Devontae Adams and having good weapons. Hopefully firing at all cylinders. So all right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. I promise we probably will not go, another 3 or 4 weeks before we do another episode. But please make sure you follow our socials, because that will tell you when we're going to be live again. So you can find us on X. That's our primary method. Find us on X at East Coast Rams. You can find us on Instagram and Threads at East Coast Rams Pod. You can also find us on Blue Sky. Just search for East Coast Rams. Please make sure you follow us on our own personal channels at RamFanAshton1 for Ashton, at Zach Mayer for me. And make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. And then you can find us on any other podcast app that you might be listening to right now. You're on Spotify, we're there. Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, we're there. Find us wherever your heart desires. Ashton, any final words?
Just always thankful for all of our awesome listeners. Definitely love all the engagement we've been getting. We love it when you guys come on and ask questions and engage with us. It's just very thankful for everyone like spending their time listening to us just kind of jaw around, and excited for the season, man. I can't wait for football to be back. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, it's good. We get to talk about football. We get to talk about, our meetups that we're gonna have this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this season plays out, and we are so excited to be able to do that with you all. So until next time, whose house? Rams house.